Okay, so if you saw my last video about the new paperwork that just dropped on Lil Durk, you'll know that things are crazy right now. A bunch of new information has been revealed. It appears to suggest that the government are actually planning to use earlier attempts on Quando Rondo's life against Lil Durk. They're bringing up the murder of Stefan Mack, another guy that was allegedly killed for revenge for Lil Durk's brother D-Thang. Of course, they're talking about the Quando Rondo attempted assassination that ended up taking his cousin Lil Pab's life. But a detail from that video, from that paperwork, that's really interesting, that's really blowing up now, is this one detail all about how apparently Lil Durk was actually feuding with Munna Duke from O Block, and that there were members of OTF that were actually plotting to get O Block members taken out over the belief, it says here, that O Block members were not properly retaliating for King Von's death. Now, I've got this thread here on Chiracology, okay, and there's some very, very interesting points in the comments that I want to get to, and I want to talk a lot about this apparent beef with Munna Duke, okay? It says here, I'll read this again, okay? It says, there's evidence that defendants Banks and others were involved in the murder of Savia Robinson, which is Quando's cousin. They sought to exact revenge on another rival of defendant Lil Durk at his direction. Specifically, in April 2023, text messages by and between defendant Banks and OTF members, including OTF DD, who was in there, who was mentioned, all right? Antonio Jones, aka Booney Mo, and a confidential informant number 1, showed that the defendant Banks feud with O Block member Munna Duke was over defendant Banks' belief that O Block members were not properly retaliating for Bennett's death. In the thread, Lil Durk says, I'm finna pipe it up, to which Booney Mo says, blood is green, emoji of a car and a green light, getting it together now, no phones. All right? And they've got all of that. As set forth in the cooperated discovery produced to you, the government expects the informant will testify that in response to Durk's direction to exact revenge on O Block members, PW1 and Booney Mo purchased a vehicle with funds from defendant Banks to travel to O Block and kill whoever O Block members they could find. PW1 is also expected to testify that PW1 would have been expected to be paid by Durk for any one of the conspirators killed, but that the conspirators did not go through with the plan because of police presence in O Block. Now, I just want to address something. I kind of misspoke at the start of my last video, and I said that basically DD and Durk and this, Booney Mo were sliding, but apparently, okay, so DD was just in the group chat. It was this confidential informant who's unnamed and Booney Mo who allegedly got the car and went to slide. So DD was just in a group chat. He didn't slide. Now, I just want to make that very clear. Okay, I didn't say that in my last video, but the way that I revealed the information and the names, it kind of sounded like that. So I just wanted to make that very clear, okay? They're not saying that DD slid. He was just in a group chat where this alleged green light for sliding on O Block members was discussed. Okay, I want to make that very, 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 very clear, okay? And there was also a part in my last video, I just want to make it clear, okay? At one point, I kind of confused OTF Vonnie and OTF DD, and I said, at some point, I said, well, DD, maybe he joined later and he didn't really know everything that was going on. He wasn't really involved like that. That really was me talking about Vonnie. DD, he was really in them streets, okay? He was facing a body. He came home, all right? He came home to a hero's welcome. He had lyrics from King Von. You remember that King Von lyric on Beat That Body with THF Bezu, who's mentioned here? He said, Snitch K, I just talked to DD. He gonna be home, gang. All right? So DD was a real OTF stepper. OTF Vonnie allegedly kind of got involved later on more of an industry thing. But anyway, that's by the by. I just wanted to make that very clear so everyone can follow exactly what's going on. But I want to return to my video on Munna Duke because a lot of people in these comments, they're actually suggesting, it says it here, plain English, black and white. Okay, Lil Durk was feuding with O Block member Munna Duke over defendant Banks' belief that O Block members were not properly retaliating for Bennett's death. But that might not be the only reason that Lil Durk had an issue with Munna Duke. Okay, so this is some classic lore. All right, if you know this story closely, you'll know this, but you might not. Not only was Lil Durk probably upset and mad that D-Thang, obviously, not D-Thang, all right, I'm getting to D-Thang, I'm getting myself confused. Not only was Lil Durk upset that these O Block members, allegedly under the leadership of Munna Duke, weren't sliding for Von, but also, and this is around that time, okay, this is 2 years ago, 2023, Munna Duke and D-Thang's wife, that's Lil Durk's brother D-Thang, who passed away and was killed, and there was allegedly a whole bunch of get back and 3 people died in the wake of D-Thang's murder. Munna Duke ended up getting into a relationship and having a baby with the woman who was married to Lil Durk's brother D-Thang. So it seems like there were other reasons behind the scenes, beneath the surface, why Lil Durk might have had a very personal vendetta against Munna Duke. Okay, got a baby with him. That's Lil Durk's brother's who passed away wife or baby mama, however you want to call it. Okay, this really thickens the plot, and it really gives people more reason to think that Lil Durk might have wanted to have something to do with Munna Duke getting hurt. So if we take a look at some of these comments, people are saying this is so interesting. They can't believe it. All right. Slide for Von was really eating up Lil Durk's soul really bad. They're saying he told that dude wear 3 ski masks. All right. But here's where it gets interesting, because there's a lot of comments about Duke here, and I think that it is very, very interesting. They're saying, and Duke was with his brother's baby mum around that time too. People are saying that is probably what was really driving the tension. People are saying this is crazy if it's real. People saying Duke and Durk were beefing back then too. Must have been right. People were saying it back then. Okay. People saying then they're acting hella shocked when it comes out 2 years later. But this is what was going on, man. So they're saying I feel Durk on that one. Slid on them bitch ass dudes, especially Ike Munna, man. Look, he was wanting anybody that was claiming O Block, walking around wearing those chains. He felt like you should have been sliding for Von. Okay, people are saying that Durk should tell. Okay, but this is the thing. Hold on, y'all. You think the inner beef was the reason that Munna Duke was messing with D-Thang's wife? I feel like that was foul. And people saying, now the BM thing is the reason they're beef. Now, the timeline kind of adds up here, right? What's really interesting about this is this says they were beefing in 2023. Now, Munna Duke and D-Thang's baby mother, they pop out with a child November 2023. Okay, you can't see this for some reason, but like when I highlight the date 2 years ago, it says Thursday, November the 23rd, 2023. I guess it doesn't pick it up on OBS when I highlight stuff, but yeah. So this basically happened, what's that, April? 7 months after Lil Durk and D-Thang are already having these problems, all right? And he's mad at D-Thang. D-Thang, not my bad. Munna Duke, all right? He's mad at Munna Duke that they're not sliding on O Block. And then Munna Duke ends up in this relationship and having a child. If the child was born in November, Munna Duke likely already conceived that child when they were having this beef. It's possible that that was part of this, man. And that's what's so crazy about this situation. It's unbelievable. And what's really interesting is like the way that this guy described it is they're saying, do you think the beef was the reason that Munna Duke was smashing D-Thang's wife? So, because there's been a lot of talk about like maybe they got together and that's why Lil Durk and Munna Duke were having some tension. But this comment, the way this comment frames it, they're basically saying, nah, they was already having a beef and maybe Munna Duke was hitting on D-Thang's wife to mess with Durk, to disrespect him, to disrespect his deceased brother D-Thang. That would be a crazy theory. Okay, people are saying the baby mama thing is the reason they was beefing, but maybe it sounds like maybe this beef was already going on. It's unclear which thing was the start. It's unclear what the actual catalyst for this beef was, but that is actually pretty crazy, okay? And people are saying it's confusing, man. People are saying it's confusing if it come out and O Block and threats to everything was smoking each other. People are finished with this drill thing, right? People say, I'm not going to lie, not smart for this one if true. It makes sense why Munna Duke could have been backdoored. But, and not justifying it, Von gave a lot back to his hood when he started to go up. And with Durk being as big as he is, he can't just go pick up a gun and go do it. But the slide for Von comments had to be eating him up. And the older members are live. And they had to be getting real frustrated with them. And they felt as if the younger generation and other members needed to slide against all the people who dissed Von and Atlanta as a whole. Maybe they mean Chicago. It's just an all-round mess. Just like with every drill scene. People are saying, damn, so Durk really sent some OTF guys to kill any O Block member. People are saying, I don't think any O Block member, the only person named in the message thread was Munna Duke. And Durk had him in their own personal problems. And people are saying he probably tried to get Duke shot. And this is interesting, saying, and now it makes sense that people were saying RIP threats to everybody, Ken, the day that Munna Duke and Young got killed. So, yeah. So look, I want to just return to my video about the murder of Munna Duke. I want to just recap. I want to refresh my own memory. I want to refresh your memory of everything that went down with Munna Duke and some of the things that were going on afterwards, because this is still a giant mystery in Chicago history. It's still a giant mystery in the Chicago streets. Nobody's been arrested for this. Nobody's been wrapped up into this. I'm not going to lie to you. It is actually possible, it's plausible that this murder could end up getting wrapped up in some kind of indictment connected to Lil Durk. After we've seen that, I was never, ever, ever expecting to see Munna Duke mentioned in the beef with Lil Durk. It's actually crazy. So let's recap from my video about the murder of Munna Duke and just everything that transpired afterwards to see if it gives us any extra context. Check this out. On May the 10th, 2025, Munna Duke and Youngin headed to the north side of Chicago to the Edgewater neighborhood for a fun night out, as they were celebrating fellow O-Block veteran Gleesh's birthday. They would spend the night at the Pork Chop Barbecue Restaurant and Bar on the 6300 block of North Broadway. But as now, just to pick up on some of these details, they're saying that they were celebrating a very famous O-Block member, Gleesh. It was his birthday. And if we're seeing from that paperwork, it's saying that OTF members were trying to kill anybody from O-Block. We don't know whether this is actually truly connected at this point. We don't know whether OTF are responsible. We don't know whether they backdoored the situation and gave the drop. But it's very interesting because this really was a wild situation where members from O-Block, this is a notorious gang. If you watch this video, you'll know that Munna Duke was suspected of committing several murders as part of the Get Back gang campaign to get back slide for T. Roy, who was King Von's best friend. And history just seems to be repeating itself. And I think it is. These are interesting details in the context of the fact that allegedly Lil Durk was trying to have anybody from O-Block killed, and then this ends up happening. As their evening at the restaurant came to a close, and Duke, Youngin, and their group exited the restaurant, at least 2 gunmen who had reportedly been hanging out in front of the restaurant waiting for them would jump out of a vehicle, firing at least 50 shots, hitting Duke, Youngin, and a third man who some thought to have been Domo from the 600 set, a brother of the founder of 600 called D-Thang. Unfortunately, both Youngin and Duke would tragically pass away, and thankfully, the third man ended up surviving. The aftermath of the shooting was recorded by passers-by that showed Youngin's lifeless body laying on the pavement.
I don't know what the going on. You straight? You got shot?
An officer familiar with the investigation told newspapers how security video showed the gunman escaping in a stolen Infiniti Q50, which cops found less than 2 hours after the shooting, abandoned and burning on the 600 block of East 134th Place, almost 30 miles south from the scene of the shooting in the far south side. Munna Duke had posted a story on his social media just 6 hours before the incident, his last Instagram story featuring him in the car with whom many believe to be Youngin, Domo, and Domo's sister, listening to G Herbo and flexing jewelry including his O-Block chain. Meanwhile, Youngin's last post was ominously captioned, "We outside, DM the gang for the location," and Youngin too would be spotted wearing his O-Block chain at the gathering. It would be one such O-Block chain, allegedly splattered with blood, that Duke and Youngin's alleged killers would post not long after the murder, snatched off an O-Block member's corpse, or at least that's what the posters wanted everyone to think. News of the deaths begun to spread quickly online, with associates confirming Munna Duke and Youngin's passing through heartfelt posts, including those members of O-Block who were particularly close with the two, like Muwop, Duke's alleged right-hand man in the murder of Get Right. Munna Duke had also recently become a father, welcoming a child with the former partner of OTF D-Thang, the late brother of rapper Lil Durk. But following him and Youngin's death, it wasn't just those close to them paying their respects, as the well-known ops of O-Block, like STL, EBT, Taekwon World, and Gyro City, would immediately begin to troll on social media. Taekwon World members paying tribute to their fallen friend Poppy, this playing to the long-held rumor that Duke had been involved in his murder. But surprisingly, none of them would pay tribute to Get Right, which many people on Reddit would argue was actually proof that Duke wasn't one of the shooters in that case. But meanwhile, O-Block and their younger generations like TSG would make social media posts promising Get Back, with members of TSG announcing to the world and probably the police that they were already busy sliding on their ops, posting on social media asking where the ops are and that they must have gone into hiding knowing that O-Block was on hunting time. But now I just want to point out something interesting, right? One of these guys posted "Laugh Now, Cry Later." That's Lil Durk's song with Drake that was released just after FBG Duck was killed, announcing to the world and probably the police that they were already busy sliding on their ops, posting on social media asking where the ops are and that they must have gone into hiding knowing that O-Block was on hunting time. But who they were hunting is a completely different matter, as it seems that when it comes to the possible suspects, there are many different theories. One of the leading drill reporters in Chicago, or drill historian as he calls himself, Truth Teller TV, would suggest that the murder may well have been in retaliation for the murder of rapper FBG Duck, meaning that the suspects may be from the sets close by O-Block like STL EBT, aka Tukaville, where Duck was from, or possibly Taekwon World, which has many members closely affiliated with Duck's set.
You know, it's a real war going on. It's already talk in the street that this is Get Back for FBG Duck. And they did this for FBG Duck. I'm not sure. I don't want to throw that out, you know. But I can tell you it looked like they were targeted and murdered. The streets are talking, and people saying this revenge for Duck.
Another YouTuber from Chicago, also known as a Gyro City original and a close friend of FBG Duck, FYB J-Main, would take to his YouTube channel to comment on the situation, racking up hundreds of thousands of views within a matter of days, and reporting on the murders with a somber tone, despite being from the rival area.
Sad day in Chicago, bruh. 2 of the main O-Blockians lost their lives last night, bro, due to gun violence in Chicago, bro. We don't know what's going on, bro. So it's kind of early to start pointing fingers and all of that. It's never a good feeling when you lose your brother, you lose somebody who close to you, you even lose somebody a friend that you could be able to call.
As those who have followed the Chicago drill scene know, despite J-Mane's previous involvement in the gang war as a member of a gang who was some of the main rivals of O-Block, he spent the last few years pushing peace in the Chicago drill community and trying to build bridges between people from rival gangs, even visiting O-Block himself in vlogs while attempting to repair the fractures between these two warring communities.
Do y'all homework on I got one of the original old Blockians taking me to the O right now. Let's just start here.
That dress, I want to show that motherfucker. Come on, go on here. What we doing? I'm ready up. Alhamdulillah, Bismillah, Rahman Rahim, Alhamdulillah. We represent that Muslimatic, man. Represent that Muslimatic. We live here in O Block. We got J-Mane, we got DQ from O Block. We bring it, man. We making peace. We pushing peace and prayer on purpose. Alhamdulillah, the brothers gonna make peace right here on camera. Man, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
However, not everyone was welcoming J-Mane with open arms, and during a subsequent visit to O-Block, he was forced to flee the scene after O-Block veteran E-Dog turned up, furious about J-Mane making comments about him in interviews.
He got me on DJ. He can't do this.
Munna Duke had actually come out after this visit and dissed J-Mane too, suggesting that it was disrespectful of him to pose with his cereal brand in front of King Von's mural whilst also wearing a ski mask. It's understandable why O-Block members might have felt some type of way, because before J-Mane was pushing peace, he was known for pulling stunts like going to O-Block with a machine gun on him. After apparent pressure behind the scenes, J-Mane would take to his channel once again, giving a chilling update on how he's been warned about pushing peace with his former rivals, given just how deadly the beef still is.
Motherfuckers telling me now, J-Mane, you better keep it on you now. Two old Blockians just got whacked. You even the Whoop man out here pushing this peace and you out here trying to stop the violence. But whole time, when shit like this happen, it's kind of a smack in the face. Do something different in my life, bro. Either you gonna respect me or you not.
But somewhat surprisingly, suspicions on the culprits of this double murder would also begin to fall on O-Block's former friends, Front Street, as online sleuths would claim that the person in the pictures holding the O-Block chain while wearing a ski mask was actually a Front Street member called Bawop, who, according to online detectives, is tied to at least 2 other murders, these being towards Front Street and O-Block's common enemies, the murder of Cord from STL EBT in 2021 and Lil Take from Taekwon World in 2022. Then, another leaked image would get posted on Reddit, showing another alleged member of Front Street wearing the same chain, the caption simply being a series of laughing emojis. But as the person who had posted the image would notice that it had been shared on Reddit, he would seemingly decide to delete his entire Instagram account, with the Redditors predicting that their self-snitching had made certain that they would get caught. Meanwhile, O-Block would catch wind of the rumors floating around the net, with both Ike Munna and Ocho Munna commenting on a post saying that the chain isn't Youngun's or Duke's. And in reality, it seems unlikely that anyone would spend time trying to remove a chain off someone's neck in such a public place, not knowing if the victim's friends were going to return fire at any moment. Meanwhile, other Reddit detectives have pointed out how the getaway vehicle was found burning literally right next to the Altgeld Gardens, the home of OTF Chuckies, an Action Savage's ghoulie gang, aka Bloodbath, while their members would also post subliminal Instagram posts like an emoji showing 2 fingers up, this seemingly implying that they had just caught 2 of their ops. If these rumors are true, this could mean that O-Block is about to face some very difficult times, and the question becomes, who would Lil Durk and his OTF affiliates side with? They're longtime friends from O-Block who have done many things with Durk and for Durk, but who have recently lost many key members due to death or prison, or ghoulie gang whose rapper Chucky is currently one of the top artists on Lil Durk's OTF label, which desperately needs somebody to bring in money now that Durk will likely stay locked up for a long time. Many people seem to think that this case could be solved any day now, if the Chicago police are just willing to allocate some of the required resources, but they often take their time, and only time will tell if anyone is going to face justice. So for now, I just want to say rest in peace to Munna Duke and Youngun, and for anybody watching this growing up in these kind of harsh environments that I'm talking about in this video, stay safe, and remember, the streets and the gang lifestyle only tends to end one of 2 ways. So don't crash out, and remember that you are worthy of a long and fulfilling life. Thanks for watching. Peace. So, that's all of the information about the Munna Duke situation, but there is new information, and look, all right, you saw a minute ago, okay, I was showing these comments on this post about this new paperwork, and I didn't really know about this, and I'm going to dig into it now for you guys so that we can look at it together. Somebody said, right, and now it makes sense that people were saying RIP TT Ken the same day that Duke and Young'un got killed. Now, this is the pictures they're referring to. It says them OTFians posting Ken after the death of Duke and Young'un. So allegedly, these are OTF members showing off their passed away friend, Tay-Town Ken. Now, I didn't really know a lot about this guy. Now, apparently he had a weird case. Okay, I don't want to get too much into it, but he apparently had a case that involves sexual violence. Okay, but people are saying this is 5 months ago. They're saying, oh yeah, just a coincidence. Laughing face. People saying they're definitely beefing. The Munna wasn't even there. They definitely beefing. The Munna was there when Ken got killed. People saying catch up. Most of the people here know that he was with another dude from Lamron when he did the thing. It's when Ken got backdoored the same day Lamron Trigger got killed. There's a real civil war going on inside the BD community. And it says, yeah, since 2020, Lamron and TTE kill each other. Same for Front Street and O Block. When Ken got killed, Reese made an IG post. O Block and Lamron together since what happened. All right. And Lil Reese did post laughing emojis when this guy Ken got killed. Okay. Lil Reese posted a picture of his shoes with crying emojis, not laughing emojis. They're not actually laughing emojis. They're crying emojis. But still, it apparently was disrespect towards this guy, Ken. Okay, and this was a year ago. People saying, damn, Tay-Town and Lamron are really beefing? What the hell? All right, people saying that's crazy. They're on the same block beefing like that. They're saying Tay-Town's just 3-4 blocks away. Okay. Basically, everybody is saying, how does that work? Isn't Durk cool with Tay-Town members and Sosa cousin from there? Right? People are hating on Lil Reese. They're wondering what this civil war is all about. They're saying, why is everybody teasing his death from his side? I know him and Mimo wasn't cool, but why Reese? Okay. So what's really interesting, I didn't know much about this Ken guy, but now I'm seeing Reddit posts all about him. And apparently, okay, this is the original post where he passed away. It said, damn, back to back, RIP to the rapper TT Ken. He was shot and killed just a few hours ago. And it said a man was killed in a Roseland shooting on Sunday night. Police responded to calls of a person shot and found a 26-year-old man between two houses in the 11500 block of South State Street around 8 p.m. The man who was shot multiple times in the back was taken to University of Chicago Medical Center and pronounced dead. And a witness told police that 2 men had gotten out of a black sedan and shot the man before getting back into the car and fleeing, and no one is in custody. And people were saying Mimo 600 was going to have a field day. People saying that he was a offender of the S variety. He was apparently part of a gang abuse situation with 3 older Tay-Town members. I ain't go too hard. They're saying he an S offender, all of that stuff. They're saying he weird as hell. But basically, he passed away, and this caused a lot of friction, a lot of back and forth. And what's really interesting, okay, is apparently he was involved in the Lil Durk case. People are saying the unnamed shooter is Ken. So people are saying he might have been the other shooter that was in the situation where Quando's cousin got killed. They're saying the issue is they provided 3 grand jury with lies in order to get a complaint against Durk. Even after knowing the lyrics have nothing to do with the case, they continued to use edited videos to make their argument strong. The lawyers are saying that they knew they lied but continued with doing that because had they had the text messages, it wouldn't have been enough to indict him. That's why they added clips that were edited. This then showed a different narrative to the grand jury because of their unethical conduct. The indictment against Smirk should be dismissed because of how they do it. And they're basically saying the unnamed shooter is Ken. Nobody's cooperating against Durk. He'll be coming home. Now, I don't know about him coming home, but there's been a lot of speculation that maybe that shooter was OTF Jam, that one of the shooters who actually was there, involved in the murder of Lil Pab, was actually cooperating with the feds. Other people are saying it's Ken and he's no longer alive, so they're not mentioning him in there. And they're basically saying that's how he got indicted. It basically has been going around Reddit on other posts. They're saying, by the way, it's pretty likely that co-conspirator 2 was Ken TTE, who died last year, hence why his name isn't on the indictment. Still, people are thinking it can't be Jam. Is it Jam? They're saying, no. I see how you figured that, but without saying his name. He used to be around Durk 24/7 with Duty Low. He moved to California right after Von died. They're saying Ken died last year, and I highly doubt it. Kid was a crash out. He could be the one, but Jam is definitely one of them. I ran a search for him. Absolutely nothing came back. But essentially, a lot of people are believing that the OTF members that posted Ken after the death of Duke and Young'un were basically flexing the fact that, yep, Ken, he allegedly got killed in this whole ongoing beef. Munna Duke might have been there when it happened. And so when he died, the OTF members were happy at what happened to Munna Duke, and they posted these pictures of Ken. Now, we still don't know exactly who was responsible. A lot of people in those comments are saying Backdoor. A lot of people say maybe OTF had something to do with what happened to Munna Duke. Now, we don't know that for sure. Okay, and we don't know if Ken Ken was involved in this situation with Lil Durk. It's plausible, but we haven't got any proof at this stage. But I think this whole plot with the OTF versus O Block beef just thickened massively. Okay, there's so much more to this story than anyone could have imagined. Clearly, Lil Durk and Munna Duke weren't seeing eye to eye. They were already beefing about the whole Slide for Von situation. And then add to that the fact that Munna Duke is having a baby with the mother of Lil Durk's nephew, I guess you would say. This whole thing is just getting crazy. Okay, so look, I'm going to look more into this whole Ken Ken situation, this whole OTF back and forth, what Lil Reese's involvement is in this whole thing. I didn't even know about any of this stuff, okay? So I'm going to look deeper into this, and I'm going to come back and update you with some videos. But I do think that this Lil Durk situation just got a whole lot worse today. I can't believe what I'm seeing. This new paperwork, this new evidence is looking very damning, and I still think this is just the tip of the iceberg. So I'll let you guys know if I have any updates on this situation, okay? That was just me quickly going through a few links. I'm educating myself on some of these issues as I'm making these videos. I'm learning along the way with you. You know, this is way more of a casual setup that we've got on this channel, but I will look deeper into these things, and I will be back with a bigger update. So thanks for watching. See you.